Chapter 9. Heart Disease Cases. Although, as Mr. Ellis Barker encouragingly writes, patients with valvular disease of the heart can, with care and a well-balanced diet, live even till 90, yet the disease as such is said to be incurable. Nevertheless, by means of urine therapy, this distressing condition can be completely cured. The following case history is instructive. Mr. P., middle-aged. He had not only been under the doctor for a year suffering from valvular disease of the heart, but was about to undergo an exploratory operation for a suspicious lump in the region of the solar plexus. Very often he had fainted in the street and had been carried into the nearest chemist shop, where he had been fortified by drug tablets which he always carried in his pocket. On his clothing was a tab instructing people what to do when he was overtaken by an attack. Latterly, he had suffered from these attacks so frequently that he came to be known in the vicinity as Poor Mr. P. He had been placed on a regime which consisted of his only being allowed 1 meal per day for 5 days of the week, whilst over weekends he was ordered to fast on water only. No exercise was permitted except a short, gentle walk. Smoking was prohibited, and as for medicaments, he was only to have the drug tablets during an actual attack. Such was the position when he came into my hands. The first thing I urged him to do was to drink the urine he passed. As I expected, this proved to be very odorous and turgid at first, but soon cleared up. I instructed Mr. P. how to rub his body with urine, and then rubbed him for about 2 hours with my own. En passant, I may remark that the most important parts of the body to rub are the face, neck, and feet. After the rubbing, Mr. P. was washed down with plain, warm tap water. The following day, the treatment was continued for some hours. Subsequently, Mr. P. came to my house every morning to be rubbed in the same manner. He did not enter the nursing home for observation or the exploratory operation. With regard to food, he was allowed to eat once a day, but only such foods as I advocated. After 1 month of treatment, he was so far improved that he was able to return to business. In 12 weeks, he registered complete health, and no sign either of the valvular disease of the heart or the suspicious lump in the solar plexus remained, a fact which his doctor cheerfully and ungrudgingly admitted. Not once since the day Mr. P. began the treatment did he have a heart attack, and so little did he fear a recurrence that he consigned his drug tablets to the flames. Should it be supposed that I am the only one who practices urine therapy with success, the following case history will serve to contravene the assumption. Mr. R. Heart disease with dropsy. Feet, legs, and abdomen very greatly swollen. Heart much dilated. Doctor took a serious view of the case and gave the patient only a month to live. He was then induced to try treatment in a well-known naturopathic establishment. The treatment, however, proved so unsuccessful, and the patient was in such a critical condition that he was requested to leave, seeing that he was expected to die within a fortnight. Mr. R. then heard of the courageous naturopath Mr. Oliver Warnock Fielden of Harrow, who eventually cured him with urine therapy in 6 weeks. During the fast, his weight was reduced from about 12 to 7 stone, 11.5 pounds. Mr. R. had been a very excessive smoker, and contrary to instructions, smoked to a certain extent during the fast, a matter which somewhat delayed progress. Needless to say, his doctor was very surprised at his cure, the more so as Mr. R. had thought it wise not to divulge the modus operandi. As things stand at present, many people who do something so unconventional as to drink their own urine are afraid to be ostracized. Their fears are quite understandable. Sorry, there's some mistakes here. As things stand at present, many people who do something so unconventional as to drink their own urine are afraid to be ostracized by. Their fears are quite understandable, but society. Obstructive to the spread of urine therapy as a means of helping suffering humanity. Okay, so something is missing in here. New paragraph. I may here add a word to this chapter relative to what has been pronounced to be one of the causes of heart disease in modern times, serums and vaccines. According to Dr. Benchetrit, these measures are, quote, principally responsible for the increase of these two really dangerous diseases, cancer and heart disease, unquote. The doctor adds, quote, I have been for a long time a serologist and I know what I am talking about, unquote. Dr. Benchetrit is by no means the only doctor to criticize the practice of employing harmful preventatives or alleged to be preventatives against acute infectious disease. Dr. S.S. Goldwater, New York Commissioner of Hospitals, pointed out in the Modern Hospital magazine that measures used to check contagious diseases may permit of longer life, but not of stronger life, unquote. Chronic diseases, he adds, are, quote, growing at such a rate that America may become a nation of invalids. More than half the hospital beds in the United States today are occupied by sufferers from chronic mental and physical diseases. Middle-aged and elderly persons are not the only sufferers. Many children are victims, unquote. See Health Practitioners Journal, June 1944. One may ask if sera and vaccines are liable eventually to produce heart disease and other chronic serious ailments. Why then are they boosted by the BMA? For, first of all, as Dr. Alfred Pulford, MD, has tersely remarked, quote, anyone who can prevent an occurrence positively that he does not know is bound to occur is indeed a seventh-day wonder. And secondly, certain renowned bigwigs in the medical profession have demonstrated the most, quote, deadly germs are harmless to the healthy body. We read that Professor Mechnikov said he found the bacilli of Asiatic cholera in the waters of many to alities, I'm not sure of this word, A-L-I-T-I-E-S, but no epidemic or plague or disease was ever known to be at any of these places before or after his findings. Professor Tettenkoffer swallowed several million germs of the deadly Asiatic cholera. Nothing happened. To verify the test, Professor Emmerich made a culture from the intestines of newly dead victims of the disease and swallowed millions of germs with no noticeable results. To test even more thoroughly and in far more frightful conditions, Dr. Thomas Powell allowed the germs of 7 deadly diseases to be shot into his bloodstream and was alive 10 years later as on that day and as healthy. Extract from Naturopath of Herald of Health. Nevertheless, these facts are not made known to the general public, nor do those who urge members of the community to be immunized against this or that disease inform them that not all doctors are in favor of such measures, being of the opinion that vaccines and serums may later on produce chronic afflictions, not the least of which is heart disease. End of chapter.